Hey everyone, it's Cassie from Kaylin Art, and on Sunday I shared a motion craft card, this little frog that jumps, and the lily pad moves, and I got some requests to do a video tutorial on making that lily pad move. So the stamps we're going to be using are the Be Happy stamp set from Motion Crafts, and it has a combination of motion stamps and non-motion stamps. I'm using this motion frog and this regular lily pad. We're also going to be using an animation grid die. This die will cut your animation grid, and it's just really fine lines. And this is what we're going to use to make our animated lily pad. To get started, we're going to use the animation grid die and die cut some thin copy paper, and then carefully remove it from the die. You want to go really slow so you don't bend any of your grid lines. If you have a magnetic stamp positioning tool, it will make things a lot easier. So I'm going to be using my Misty today. I'm going to put my cardstock in, and we're going to start by stamping our animated frog. Now it looks kind of weird, it has all these weird lines, but that's what makes it animated. And these new stamps have a straight bottom, so you can line it up on your grid line on your Misty lid so that you know that it's stamping really straight. So we're just going to stamp that. The next thing we need to do is make a mask for his belly so you won't see the lily pad through it. So I'm just tearing a little post-it note and sticking it right on top of his belly. Now we're going to put our copy paper grid on top of our stamp and move it around until you just see where he's sitting down. If you get the grid lined up just perfect, you should only see him sitting. We're just going to stick that in place with the magnets. So next we're going to put our lily pad where we want it on top of the mask. So I'm just going to put it right about here. This is what it will look like when he's sitting down. I'll pick that stamp up with the lid of the Misty, and then make sure that your grid lines haven't shifted at all. And then go ahead and stamp your lily pad. You want to give it a little extra pressure to make sure you get it through the mask lines. And when you remove your mask grid, you should see an image that has some white spaces in between the stamped lines, and this was what's going to cause the animation. So you put your animated grid over top and you move it around, your lily pad should flicker. So we're going to put our mask back on, and this time we're going to line it up with the part of the image where he is jumping. You can take the mask off if it's getting in the way. So we're going to move it around until we find where he is jumping. Go ahead and take your time. The more precise you are, the better it will look. Now we're going to place our lily pad where we want it when he's jumping. So I'm tilting it just a little bit like he just pushed off. I'll go ahead and pick that up with the lid. And ink it up and stamp it. Again, give it some firm pressure to get through the mask. Now when you move your animation grid on top, you should have a moving lily pad. Now to add color, we're going to do the same thing, but I'm using a grid made from some cardstock this time. It'll make it a little bit easier when you are coloring to keep your lines straight. So I've lined it up over the frog where he's sitting down, and I'm using chameleon pens because they have a really nice fine point. I'm just going to carefully color in between the lines, but don't let your grid lines move at all while you're doing this. Go ahead and take your time. The more precise you are when you color, the smoother your animation will be when you're finished. You can go ahead and add color to his tummy and to his mouth. Then we're going to slide our grid again to find where our second lily pad is, where he's jumping, and line that up. And go ahead and color your lines again. Now when we put our animated grid on top and we move it, we have a frog that jumps and the lily pad moves and it's all colored. But it looks a little weird, kind of hanging out there in the middle of nowhere, so let's add some water. To start out, we're just going to draw in our little water line and then use our cardstock grid again to draw in the water that is around the animated part of the stamp. So around the lily pad and around your frog, you need to go through the mask. As you get away from your animation part, it doesn't matter as much. We'll just color that all in a minute. You just want to get around the animated part. And slide your grid over until he's jumping. And color around the lily pad and the frog again. When you're done coloring all around the animated parts, you can remove your mask and just quickly fill in the rest of the water. And now he's sitting in the water. Have fun creating with your Motion Crafts stamps and dies. Thanks for watching.